Welcome to the Rest of Us podcast. I have Jacqueline Young here. She is a now brown belt, recently promoted Masters 2 brown belt. She went to Master Worlds a week ago and went as a 1-year purple belt and subbed everybody. How many matches to gold did you have?
4.
4 matches to gold. How long are they when you're purple belt in Masters?
Still 5 minutes.
Bless. Yeah. I love that for us. Is it 5 minutes at brown belt too or no?
I think so.
Is it really?
Yeah. But at adult is where it changes. So
like to 8 or something crazy.
I think for purple it's 6, 7 is brown, and 10 for black. I'm like rolling for 10 minutes. Dude, no.
Sometimes the guys will set the clock at like open mat to really long rounds if they're competing. And I feel like I'll look, I'm like, what is this clock set to? There's still 6 minutes left or something crazy.
I'm dying, Lord. How much longer do I have left?
That's what I feel like it'd be such a different strategy to try to make it. Also, I think you just have to sub people. I think the trick to making it to gold at those higher levels is you can't go full length matches for every single match. It's just not possible.
I am so dumped out on adrenaline. The last thing I'm thinking about is doing mathematical calculations in my head. Oh, okay, sweep 2, mount 4, knee on belly 2. No, I'm so like, I just rip their arms off.
And then that's why she subs them all. She was like, strategically, I'm thinking it simplifies it. If they're out, they're out, and that's all it is. Did you break that last girl's arm or no?
I think I did. I felt it go like, because I went belly down. She wasn't tapping when I did it the nice way, so I did it the for sure way. And
Jackie, I have to give you a little background on being Jackie, actually. So the way that I met Jackie is I had a girl who lived in this apartment complex, and she was a cocktail waitress at a nightclub that one of the black belts at Jackie's gym is a GM at. So he had posted a story with you saying how great jiu-jitsu was for women, and you were like a blue belt and you were like rolling, and he's like, she's only has a couple of years experience. And this is right when I was like a 9 month. I had just gotten my blue belt. So I was going to Euros. I randomly signed up for Euros when I was drunk on margaritas one night. And we made a trip to Paris. And so I was like, I'm not ready for this competition. I just got my blue belt. I don't know what I did this. And he's like, yeah, just roll with Jackie.
Yeah.
So I go, and I had just lost white belt, my like white belt finals match at the Atlanta Open. And it was because I felt like 2 or 3 pops in this girl's arm, and then I just didn't send it, and the clock ran out and I lost. And she got her bag of ice and her gold medal. And after that, I was like, I'm never going to break someone's arm over a gold medal. And then I cried all weekend because I was like, I wish I broke her arm.
Yeah.
So that was like the beginning of my villain arc. And then I met Jackie, and that was really the beginning of my villain arc because she was the first person that I ever rolled with, because there aren't a lot of competitors who are female at my gym at the time. And so Jackie was the first person that I ever met that was like, Rachel, I know what I'm doing. I'll tap when I'm ready. And I was like, okay. And that was exactly what I needed before I went into, and then I got silver at Euros specifically because of Jackie's help.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I remember watching you too. I was in nursing school. I was in like a clinical lab, and I had my phone like this on Flow Grappling, and I was watching, and I was talking to Greg. I was like, she did it! Oh my God! And I stepped out to go use the bathroom to watch your finals match. Like, it was so awesome to watch you.
And then I think back to that match, and I'm like, I don't even know. I messed up so many things that I would never mess up today. And I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes you'll go into stuff and you like do all the things that you need to do to be confident. And then 6 months later, maybe like, you haven't done a competition in a while, you go in and somehow you like might feel less confident. It makes sense if you're a different belt level, but if you're not a different belt level, I like always remind myself from Rachel, remember a year and a half ago when you had all the confidence to go get gold at this same belt level? Like, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, you know more now than you did then, and you were confident getting on the mats then.
Yeah.
So just remember that when you go and do the thing.
It's true. And circling back to the, I went belly down to ensure that I broke her arm off. The 48 laws of power, it says where there's an ember burning, a fire can start. So completely crush your enemies totally. And I'm like, say less.
This is how you get a brown belt in 1 year at Purple, is you go in, you destroy your humanity, and then you come out a champion. But I feel like that's something that I still struggle with, is being a good training partner and rolling a certain way, and then rolling a certain way where you know you're going to finish a submission when you know that you're going gentle in the room. Like I went belly down on an arm bar that I subbed a girl with, and I actually saw in the videos she slapped on the way down. I didn't feel it, but I'm just so used to doing like kind of a gentle like roll over post on my head. And then we went to the other side, and then I was like, why is she not tapping? And then I really put it over my hip, and she for sure tapped. But I watched the video, and she had actually tapped on the way over. That's why she wasn't trying to escape.
Did she not say something?
I know, it was just really weird. I didn't even know this till this is the thing. If someone's going belly down on an arm bar on me and I feel that, I'm yelling tap.
Yeah.
Like I'm so scared of like being out for.
If you didn't feel this, I mean, it's jujitsu. Say something.
Yeah,
you know?
isn't that little lightweight tap?
Yeah, don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, if I know, I'm like, normally for me, if my last escape is gone, I'm tapping because I'm like, when your like arms disconnected,
Yeah.
like there's somewhere around here that you're like, no.
Yeah, this is unnatural. I should probably stop.
Yeah, especially because people can sometimes. I'm more of like a shaker to get people to let go of grips. Like I'll shake it just because I feel like that is effective. But some people will just yank your arm and break it. So like, I mean, and then if you're like this goes.
Yeah,
That's all of the white belt matches at Naga that I've seen broken arms.
Yeah.
It looked just like that.
I won't roll with white belts.
That's it. I mean, they're the most dangerous.
Yeah, they are, especially the men.
I only recently started feeling comfortable rolling with white belts again. I'm not. I just like I took like a 1 year long break, and like the girls like I'll roll with, and the girls are still.
Well, girls, I mean, women, yes.
They can only do so much damage. I actually think the girls are more dangerous because at
Really?
least guys I think are aware. Even if they get frustrated, that's where you feel it. You can always feel it. I also have a method in rolling with white belts, and my theory is to just let them pass you and just like work escapes and stuff. Because normally you get injured when they're trying to like force a pass that's not really there, but they're just going to shove their body weight through or do something like that, and they don't have that kind of mobility. But if they're already in mount, one of the things that I was already working at like blue belt was finishing submission. So most of the time they're not going to submit you. And if like, and it's actually a really good opportunity to work your escapes and stuff. So I've learned, especially when I'm rolling my goal is, even if they are even sometimes like a blue belt or a purple belt, when I first get on a mat with someone I don't know, I kind of just like let them do their game and get into a good position, and then see if I can get out from there. And normally it's not even letting them. At a certain point, I'm like, oh, this is me going 100% and I'm still stuck here and getting submitted. So if they're a higher belt, you'll get submitted. White belts, normally, they don't even know what to do once they're on top. They never get there.
They're like, okay,
Yeah.
they're shaking. What do I do?
Yeah, they normally won't hurt you in mount the way they'll hurt you kind of shoving a knee cut through with a quarter of a limb. You know what I mean? Like they just like, I feel.
I think my experience is different.
Okay, what's your experience?
With the white belt men, they feel how strong I am, and you're petite.
You are strong. Jackie is actually, the whole alliance gang of girls is strong. Like
Yeah.
you guys taught me to be a real athlete, I will say. Like I actually cite you guys all the time, not just because like, you know, Ainsley is a trainer and stuff at Elite, but I am always like, those alliance girls are like real athletes.
Yeah, Victoria is super strong. You know, I think she definitely gives me a lot of trouble. She gives me a run for my money every single time we roll, and I'm like, today will be the day. It's never the day. But
The first time I rolled with her, I was like, I remember that meme you posted of the little praying mantis, and it was like it was a praying mantis holding like a fluttering moth, and you're like, every time I roll with Victoria, and when I like first rolled with her, I was like, I saw the meme that Jackie posted with the moth and the praying mantis.
Yes.
And she's like, no, I'm really safe. I'm like, I believe that, but I believe I'm gonna be a little moth.
yeah, she's safe to roll with, but I mean, she dances to the music that you put on, and you turn it up, and she matches it, and you're just like, well, I'm stuck here. I'm not getting out. I'm just waiting for her to sink in the choke. Don't know if I'm gonna have a trachea.
Did you always like do strength training when you started or before you started, or what was that like? What was your journey to strength training in additional to jiu-jitsu?
Okay, so I took a DNA test, and in that part of the song, I took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% Viking. So I'm naturally just like freakishly strong. And
Lucas is doing like Mr. Olympia poses.
I've always had this like freakishly strong quality about me. And after I had Scarlett, I joined a gym because I was fat. I got
You had a baby. That's
Well,
not the same thing.
I have a pretty dark past. I got sober and fat at the same time, and so I was like eating a lot. Yeah, I went from like 100 pounds to 200. I was 200 pounds when I gave birth to Scarlett. Yeah.
Wow.
So I joined a gym, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just lifting weights and like and
That's probably why you're so strong, actually.
no, I mean, yes, but no. And then I joined jujitsu, and I got educated about strength training because I wanted to actually know what I was doing and have like intentional workouts, not just going in there and being like, oh, this looks like something fun today. No, like leg day, upper body, specifically biceps or quads or, whatever, calves. I don't know.
What's your split look like now?
So I have a personal trainer who I hired. He's a bodybuilder. His name's Daniel. He's from Czechoslovakia. And
I'm part Czechoslovakian.
Really?
Yeah.
He has the most amazing accent. He's like, okay, are you ready to rock and roll? I'm like, yeah.
Pretty good.
And I hired him specifically for my legs because my legs were incredibly weak. So on Wednesdays we do legs. Mondays and Tuesdays I do upper body, but it's not like a full upper like.
Everything. It's like
Specifically like chest, back, traps. Yeah. And then Wednesdays are legs, and then Thursdays it's something else. Friday back
So you
to
do
legs.
5 days a week.
I try to. Yeah.
How many days a week do you train jiu-jitsu? Because you're in
5.
nursing school. So five jiu-jitsu sessions, 5 strength training sessions.
Yeah.
And a mom
Yes.
who has to keep a human being alive.
Yeah.
I always think about that. I was like, that's a whole other like morning to the next morning commitment.
Yeah.
And then also full-time nursing school or
Yeah.
part
Full time. I graduate in December. Wow. Yeah. And Scarlett's been my little sidekick, her whole life. It's like Batman and Robin. And, it's like.
She grew up in the gym.
Yeah,
Like,
she did. Yeah. She was running around Alliance with diapers on. I remember when she was potty training, she was like, I was like, come on, Scarlett, class is over, let's go. And she stood there and she looked at me and the other instructor, Yusuf, and just peed in the floor. And he goes, it happens. He has like 5 or 6 children, yeah. So Scarlett's been at Alliance, like, it's her whole life.
You're like, right there, she peed on the floor.
Yeah. And I'm like, and here's where my kid peed on the floor.
It's not sweat.
It's pee, it's not sweat.
Pee, not sweat. And one time she had an accident, and I think it was during noon training, and the girl comes out of the changing room with no pants or panties on, and Leo's teaching class, and Scarlett's like, mommy, and I was like, leave me alone, I'm rolling, but mommy, and I look over and she's butt naked, and I was like, oh my God, somebody get this child a towel. It was really funny.
How early were you actually? Because I have friends who are moms that I know are interested in training in jiu-jitsu, and I don't think they know how to like navigate. Like, what was that like when you first started doing it? Like, I don't know, how old was she when you like took her, and like how does she just hang out by herself, or like how do you do that? Just out of curiosity, because I know everyone does it different.
I was dating somebody at the time who trained at the gym, and so I wasn't in the advanced class yet, and he was, and he would never do the beginner's class with me. So he would hold Scarlett in his car. He had this Range Rover, and he would just sit with the baby for an hour, and they would play. And then he left the country. It's actually a pretty. Every story I have is really screwed up. It's a pretty screwed up story.
Like, oh, and then he left the country.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I'm not quitting jujitsu, so come on. And I would
that's
bring
when you
in
were like brand new, like just walked in.
tablets, snacks, and lots of staring. Y'all lock the front door. Don't let the baby run away. And I've been blessed because everybody at Alliance.
That's so sweet. They're like, we'll lock the front door.
Yeah, they take turns. Like they would take turns just like looking after her, and I'm incredibly blessed. Like that's why I consider Alliance, an extension of my family. It's because they help me take care of her so that I can be a great competitor, and and I am.
Look at you. Yeah. Look at you. Like,
not to toot my horn, but I'm just like, I'm saying like because of them and them helping me with her, I've been able to achieve great things, and I'm incredibly grateful.
So when she was younger, how often would you train?
I would try to come every day.
Wow. Okay.
'Cause-
So it wasn't even like a 2-day-a-week thing. It was like you got in it and you're like, I'm doing this.
I did. And I worked part-time, so I know there were 2 days a week I wasn't able to come. And then when nursing school started, I would have clinicals for school And that really mostly only affected me when I had got my purple belt. So I was able to win World Master as a blue belt, and then I got my purple belt, and I couldn't compete because
I remember that.
Yeah,
I ran into her, and I was like, why aren't you competing? It was so shocking to all of us. I was like, Jackie, why aren't you dressed? Like, what are you doing? She's like, apparently, and this is where I learned this, you have to win adult worlds gold.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that you can skip the required period. Like World Masters doesn't count.
Yeah, they're
Pans
like,
doesn't
fuck you,
count.
you're old, we don't give a shit about you.
Yeah, people
Like,
were telling me like, oh, if you podium at any of the majors, that's not true. It's
not
actually,
true.
if you look at the rules, it's just adult. So
Yeah.
she had gotten her purple belt too fast.
Yeah.
And she just missed, but like 2 weeks though, right?
No,
It just, or
I was only a blue belt for a year and a half, and you have to be a blue belt for 2 years.
I hit 2 years at the end of this month. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but I see.
And then you have to be a purple belt for a year and a half. And so
And brown a year. I only looked this up after
Yeah.
our conversation.
Yeah.
So, because I wasn't sure the actual rules.
IBJJF allowed me to be a purple belt in February. So I think I can compete in August. So I think I would be able to do World Master again.
At brown.
And if it gets to the point where I win, I'm going to lose on purpose because I'm not ready to be a black belt. Like, I'm already thinking, like,
You could just go do a bunch
too
of
fast.
like new breed advanced rule set no-gi. Like
I don't even know what that means. I've never competed outside of the IBJJF.
that's so crazy. It's real ratchet outside of
Is it? Yeah. I don't know what it's like. I don't
You know
what
what's
to
funny
say.
is like I enjoy both like for different reasons. It is nice to go back to IBJJF because it feels organized, and then
Okay.
when you leave it, you're like I can just like walk from the side of the mat onto the mat. Like you could just like in these like other things like tap cancer or whatever, they do try to have a barrier. It's not like there's a bullpen and they walk you over. It's not like that. It's just
No?
like you're standing and you just like walk over. And I had done so many IBJJFs that like the very first time that I went back to New Breed after 6 months, I was like, oh, I forgot how like ratchet this is. So I do appreciate how, because you'll also get scheduled. It'll say you're going at 9:30 at a New Breed, and then you don't really go till like 3:00.
What?
Yeah. So that's like one of the downsides of some of that stuff is just
When do you weigh in?
you can weigh in early in the morning when they open. Yeah, or sometimes the night before.
I hope the mic didn't catch me burping.
No, you're fine. You're gone.
The
Now
night
everyone just
before,
knows.
yeah, I'm like, huh? Yeah, they gave me this mineral. I just rolled my arm. Mineral. I got this mineral waddle.
Well, you should see Ernesto's. We gave him like a.
What? No, I rolled my arm for some reason.
We gave Ernesto these like when he was a guest, these like iced coffees with like cold foam on top, and he was like burping the entire episode. Go back to that one if you want to see him. He's like, oh my gosh.
I was listening to the marriage, the couples one on the way down here. And anytime I get in my car or I'm cleaning my house, I put on my headphones and I listen to y'all's podcast. It made me
thank
laugh.
you.
Yeah.
One of our 8 listeners. I keep joking. There's more than 8, but sometimes in the grand scheme of things, it feels like.
Isn't that Paul Ardilla? Are they brothers?
No, they're just friends. Well, I
they
mean, they call
both
each other brothers.
attorneys?
That's Sergio. He was also on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sergio and Paul are brothers, and then Ernesto's like the other guy that's on their team.
The other guy.
The other guy. I guess a brother. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then who else did I have from? I don't know. DK, Amon. They're all from my gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amon is so funny.
He's so funny.
I always run into him when I'm at a competition. It's like I turn a corner and he's standing right there, and I'm like, "Hey!"
and then you see him because he wears like a bright yellow hoodie. So
He just always gives me the biggest hug. He's always so sweet. I really like him a lot. He's good people.
Yeah, and also one of the things of our friendship is we send each other comedy videos back and forth. So he always sends me the funniest comedy. I don't know where he procures them from, but he'll send me like some random Instagram reel or like a YouTube short, and it'll just be the funniest video.
Man, Instagram gives me like the raunchiest. Like,
What are you liking?
I don't know, but
it tailors it to you, Jackie.
I don't know. It's like a
It
bugs.
does not tailor it. It sends you stuff that you.
Lucas, you might as well talk into it.
I've been scrolling through sometimes, and I'm like, why is this on my feed? And then like, okay, whenever you see it, you're like, well, this is wild. What is this? And you look at it, you're like, okay, this is inappropriate. And then you exit out of it and they're like going, oh, you like that? And you're like, no. Where's the don't ever show me this again button?
Yeah,
because
it's
you
not
guys
on
don't want to
there.
do that one. You guys want nothing but likes and comments.
Right.
But if I could do don't ever show me this again, let's see how often it comes up in other people's feeds. In my opinion.
You're right. Yeah. I get stuff like Bugs Bunny and the guy that hunts him. I don't know his name.
Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, that's it. But they're like on acid or something. And Elmer Fudd has gynecomastia. He's got like man tits. And he's like, you want to see my little man? Yeah, PUS. That's right. I'm like,
I didn't know that was allowed on Instagram.
when it comes up, I will send it to you, and you're gonna be like, Jacqueline.
No, then it's gonna keep sending me it. My Instagram is gonna.
Exactly. That's how it works. Like when one person sees it, they're like, what is this? And then all of a sudden, you send it to your friend. You're like, hey, remember that time we talked about this?
Yeah.
And then they record that, and they're like, hey, you're a weirdo.
Yeah. But I'm just like, I don't know why this is happening
Mine's
to me. I'm
become-
a victim.
Mine's become a lot of like plastic surgery because I would see these crazy bad nose jobs out of like Turkey. I don't know how I saw the first one, but I sent it to Lucas and I was like, oh my gosh, this poor, beautiful girl ruined her face. And now, like, my whole For You page is bad nose jobs. Like, I see the worst nose jobs, like, on planet Earth.
And you can't ever get that back.
No.
You know, it's like, oh, I had too much taken off. Like, this was a fad. Like, I've seen the Tinkerbell nose. I don't know what they call it, but it's just like
the little Whoville nose.
yes.
I will say, ladies, this. Any woman listening to this right now, stop fixing your nose. Because trust me, it looked better before you did it. And even if it wasn't like the most attractive nose, there's still a man out there that'll be like, I'm into that.
Right. Yeah.
So just
that's
take
true.
your time, find the guy that wants that, use it to your advantage then. Stop looking like the rest of them. Yeah. All right?
Lucas loves Roman bridges. I don't have one. I have a button nose. Yeah.
Yeah, I like wide noses and Roman bridges. So a strong feature on a face of a woman. I like that. So
So
Okay.
he got my button nose. But if I change this to a pointy nose, he wouldn't think that I'm attractive. He wouldn't like it.
No, I like your nose. I think you should leave it the way it is.
Yeah, my only fear is as we get older, I feel like noses grow as you get older. So I'm like, I like it now, but I'm like, in 20 years, how big's it gonna be though?
They do, noses and ears. And I don't know the exact formula. I'm like, I don't know the formula for the nose grows. But they do. It never stops growing.
And that's why people's faces look so different.
Elongated, yeah, when they're old.
Yeah. And like, especially like when you see men, like you'll look at like a young person or a young picture of a man and then like the old man version. And I'm like, yeah, their nose.
Everything's bigger.
Everything. Why? She's doing everything.
Everything. Does it work? I don't know.
I was just gonna say that. Our brains are in the same gutter.
I don't know that I would be able to find out. I don't know. I wonder what that's like when you're old.
I
Can
know.
you still
I
do
told
it?
Lucas I'm like real excited for him to turn 40. I'm like, babe, you're gonna be my first 40-year-old.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, y'all have been married for 13 years. How lucky and blessed.
Yeah,
Not luck.
No, it feels like luck. I think
You're
I think luck
blessed.
is fair because I think that so many people like you change as a person as you get older. Your like goals change, this like all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And even like, you know, friendships, like if you look at friendships over like a 10, 15, 20-year period, like they also change and ebb and flow. So to be with like the same romantic partner for like 16 years, because we dated before, we've been together for 16 years, 13 years married. We're just like, God, we're so lucky. We always look at each other, we're like, we're so lucky.
Y'all are. Yeah. I wish, you know, I'll be 37 in December and I'm getting married. My fiance owns the Alliance in Santiago, Chile, and he's coming here and we're getting married. But, you know, I still, not that it would ever have happened for me because I was, you know, I had a crazy past, but if I didn't have that crazy past, I wish that I would be one of those grandmas and grandpas that were like, oh, me, ma, and papa are celebrating their 70th anniversary together. What's the secret to happiness? Yeah, I won't ever have that. I'd be like,
It is crazy how you'd have to like meet someone so young. And Lucas and I were just talking about that recently because we had come across one of those reels that Instagram, I guess I get some wholesome content, but it was like, I think they made it to 90, so they were married for like 70 years. Yeah, I also was wanting, like, Lucas and I had done the math on like if you're together for 70 years, and we feel like we've been together for a long time, which is 16 years. Help me do math. You're the nursing student. That's like 50.
I'm good with dosage calculation.
but
How old are you now?
54 so if we've done 16 years, then another 54 years we'll be together for 70, right?
Yeah.
54, 16?
54, 64 plus.
So I feel like we've been together for a really long time, but 54 more years to get to what those people are at. That's crazy when you think about it, right?
Yeah. 36, 46, 56, 66, 76, 86. Just for me to get 50, I would be 86. Yeah.
And then to go another like
Yeah.
14, 15.
I would be a dinosaur in the ground.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Are we going to have that?
Yeah, but I feel like we've gotten so far, but I'm like, when you see how much
Further you can go.
Yeah, and then we always say this. I know every married couple says this, but I don't even know what we knew about each other when we met and got married. Because now that you've had like 16 years together, now you like really know a person, you fall in love with them. But I'm like, how did we make that decision 13 years ago with 13 years less information than we have now?
Well, I mean, you're always growing and that never stops. So like you're never going to stop learning about somebody because you're always going to be changing and evolving as a person. But for me, when I met Alejandro, I felt like he was never a stranger to me. Like it felt like he was my best friend from
And
the
you
very
had like a connection from the beginning.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
Instagram.
Instagram. Oh, that's still cute.
Yeah, he owns an alliance in Santiago, Chile, and a gi company called Pura Fibra makes alliance only gis. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Like the Academy geese.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they put me on their Instagram page, and he saw me, and
He fell in love.
he started
That was it.
stalking me, and he sent me a message because his English was really bad at the time, and all he said was beautiful.
Oh.
And I was like, oh. And
Do
he's
you
like,
speak Spanish now? That's a no.
no.
There's a big old pause.
I understand it when people are speaking, and I could speak it. Like I can speak sentences, but I couldn't go to a restaurant with the full like
whole conversation. They're like
yeah.
trying to make sure that they leave out the seeds of the something or other.
Yeah, like I don't. Yeah, no. So in that sense, no, I couldn't get a job as an interpreter.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
that
put it
feels
on my
extreme.
resume.
I feel like I wish there was a clearer way to do travel language. I know everything's geared towards that, but I don't understand why when I pick up Duolingo, it's telling me how to say I'm a woman or I have an apple. It doesn't even say have. It's just a woman and an apple. Like this is like how all of the different languages start because I've done like 3 or 4 of them on there. And I'm like, what I really need to be able to do is just order a coffee and ask where the bathroom is, like, and tell the Uber driver to stop at the corner. Like, I wish that we would just start with those phrases, even if I'm just memorizing a few phrases and then you use
Travel language. Okay, I don't know why I just clicked. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah, just like the language that you would use. I also feel like that's 90% of the interactions that you have in a language are those ones. Like I think of like how one of the questions that they kept asking us in Brazil was like, do you have like the store credit card or like store card? I think it's like how CVS or like Kroger have like a rewards member card or something.
Okay.
So they kept asking something like that, but I don't speak Portuguese. And I was assuming they were asking like credit or cash because you heard like kind of the word for card. And then later someone's like, oh, that question's always like, this is what they're asking. And I'm like, I just wish somebody, if I only knew that when I went, that would be so much more helpful than knowing an apple and a woman.
Yeah, than an apple and a woman.
Yeah. Same thing, like you like show up and you like ask for a reservation or if you can go to the bar and like, you know, if the bar open scene, there's so many things that you can actually go through for language that I feel like is faster than that you would actually use.
When I go to South America, I just look at Alejandro and he's like, she doesn't speak Spanish. Hold on. I'm just like, I'm not ever going to do it.
It's also hard when someone is so much more advanced than you in a language because it's just easier to revert back to what you were doing.
Yeah, but also with Spanish, it's not all the same. There's different dialects. So, for example, pollo is chicken, but in Argentina, they say pollo. So, like the double L turns into an SH instead of a ya. So, ella, she, or girl, it'd be Aisha.
Argentina is the weird. I watched a whole movie in Argentinian Spanish. I'm like, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, it's completely different. But Chile is the absolute worst. When you say yes, they're like sí, but in Chile they're like sipo. Yeah.
You're like, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah, and nothing down there is the same.
There is one, I don't remember which one, but they changed their R's to L's, and it's like instead of carne for like meat, that was like very Valley Girl Spanish. But,
Carne asada.
I'm from California, so this checks out. But it's like it changes it to an L, and I'm like, that's harder to verbalize, like carne, like.
I don't know.
I don't remember which one it was. It was either like I feel like my brain's saying it's like either Puerto Rican or Dominican. It's like one of those like island ones, I want to say. But there's a woman who did a really funny video on YouTube that I love, and she does like all the different like Spanish accents and stuff. And she, I think, is I take it back. I don't remember what she is. I want to say it's Argentinian, but she like goes and does them, and she does such a good job. Where she's like Cubans, it's like you're speaking with the cotton balls in your mouth, like it's like Spanish. And she's like the Godfather, and you're speaking like this, and then she like does all the accents.
Yeah.
And she's like, and then she does like a Mexican, and she's like, you're like a beat poet who ran out of breath. And he's like, "Da-da-da-da," and she like does it, and it sounds just like that. And I'm like, and then the funny thing is the Spanish that I did during the pandemic, I was watching all these like Spanish telenovelas out of Spain, and they have like a lisp, like it just like they do a lot. And then also their musicality is very different. It's like kind of flat. And I feel like versus like Colombian would be like this, and it sounds different.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Mhm.
Yeah, I totally.
It's like up and down. I feel like their sentences go from like up to, yeah.
You definitely know when you're around Brazilians, though.
Yeah.
Because they don't talk like campeão, you know?
It's like a nasally now. That it's like up
Tudo
there.
bem.
Tudo bem.
Yeah.
Bom.
Yeah. Bom.
Yeah, I can now say bread and not dick. So
Bet-
it took like 9
Do
episodes,
you want this
but
bread?
Yeah, I was not ordering bread apparently when I was.
How do you like this bread inside of you?
All I wanted was a croissant. So.
And what did you get?
I did get the croissant because I think they're used to Americans. But yeah, everyone's like, what were the results like?
Yeah.
I am really, of all the languages that I've ever tried to learn and like places I visited, Portuguese is one that's very overwhelming to me. And Lucas and I did 5 months. This is me saying this, and I did 5 months of Mandarin classes. And I still think Portuguese is really challenging. I don't know if it's also because the other languages that I kind of know are French and Spanish, and then I start to get everything mixed up. Versus when you're starting to learn like Chinese or something, it's so different that you don't even get them remotely like mixed up.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's hard is like, okay, well, you know, even just like the articles are hard. Like doing like the articles for like an apple, like the apple, like all those type of stuff. When it's like the O and the A, or like now that's like or in a different language. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that I think throws me with Portuguese.
So how many languages do you speak?
I don't speak any.
What are you speaking now?
I'm speaking English. I don't speak any other language other than English. I don't claim this. I don't speak any languages other than English. I did college French for 3 years, and I take that back. 3 semesters of college French, which is like 1 year of high school. So I had to do 3 years in high school. That only counted as 2 years of college. So I did 3 years of that. And then I did Spanish during the pandemic, and I finished the entire Duolingo program in a month.
Wow.
Because there was nothing to do. I was like, I don't know what to do with my time. So I sat there for like 8 hours and just like sat. And I deleted my Instagram at a certain point, and that's when I did it. Was because instead of just going to your phone to do Instagram, I just went to my phone and did Spanish. And I don't speak Spanish. So if you wanted to know how effective language learning apps are, I did the entire Duolingo program up to like the gold. Like, you know how like all the rings turn gold?
Yeah.
At the time, I think they've added more and expanded the app since then, because this is like 4 years ago now. But I had done the entire program through all gold rings.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you don't remember any of it.
I
Well,
mean, it's fine.
speak it.
Yeah, when I hear it, I'm like, okay, because they did such a good job. I will say Duolingo, and then I started to feel more confident in Spanish than French, because one of my problems in French is like, if you're doing this in 2008, you're not really listening. You're just like reading your textbook and then maybe going to class. And I really struggled with like reading it with the American accent in my head, but actual French does not sound like that. So Duolingo always like has the person reading it, so you start to see like what the phonics are, and then you have always heard it correctly in your head. So I started to get more confident with Spanish at a certain point because of that. But then like, because I learned French so young, like starting at 15, 14 when you're in high school, now it's so young at our age that it feels way more comfortable when my mind like sorts it out, like as if it's something from like a really long time ago, is like as clear as knowing old science or, you know, how to do multiplication. So there's like French, I'm very comfortable reading for sure. Like if I have to go like read a train schedule or read like a menu or something, I'm very comfortable in French. Speaking it, I'm not as comfortable. Spanish is the opposite, where I'm like more comfortable listening. And I can understand what people are saying, but when I have to sort the words out to try to express myself, I'm not as good. I get like really nervous, and then I'm like, oh, I can't. I'm going to mess this up.
Yeah.
Instead of just like doing it, I'm like always like, oh, I'm going to use the wrong tense or something.
Yeah, Alejandra's like, okay, order your food from the restaurant. I give him a sharp look. I'm like, no, don't do that to me. No.
And it's never just the speaking that's the problem. It's when you start speaking Spanish, then they assume you speak Spanish, and it's the unpredictable response that freaks me out. Like where I'm just like, okay, now I don't really know. Like I'm scared to like order, and then they say a sentence to me, and I look at them stupid. And I'm like, you're right, I faked it. I don't really know what I'm doing.
You caught me. I'm an imposter.
I'm an imposter.
What in this picture doesn't belong? It's me. Yeah.
It's me. I know I got the first part, and I faked it good till then, but now I don't know.
I can assure you that they know that we are not native Spanish speakers.
I was like, well, I'm brown. I walk around everywhere, and everyone's expecting me to speak their language.
I always throw in the ¿Qué es la palabra? And then they look at me and they go, oh, yo no sé. You're like, oh, interesting how we don't know these words.
Lucas knows actually pretty good Spanish, work Spanish for carpentry. So he can.
So you speak Mexican Spanish.
Yes.
And the dirty kind. Yeah. Yeah. Chupa mi verga, right?
See?
Yeah. Yeah.
He can ask someone to move their
La
truck.
verga. Yeah.
See, he's doing that beat poet accent.
The little interrupter. She's like, Band-Aid, absolutely. Say less. Band-Aids could cure cancer.
We have like the very traditional Band-Aids.
Oh, she doesn't care. The attention alone would heal all wounds for her.
Well, Lucas gives a lot of attention to kids' pets.
She'll eat it up.
Hey, he's like very golden retriever like,
Energy. Yeah. I like it. It's
Well, every time we're like in a grocery store, it's kind of funny because like little kids, especially little girls, will always like look at Lucas and like wave and like have a whole like they'll be like 2 or 3 years old with no real words, and then they'll just like be like, and look, I'm like, he's like, I don't know,
He's
kids just
married.
do that. Yeah, he's married.
He's married.
Yeah.
Get away from my husband.
I just don't know why. I'm like, it's just probably it's the dimples. I think. I also joke that Lucas looks like every prince from a Disney movie with the hair combed this way.
He does.
Yeah.
He
Like if
does.
I had to cast, like if we were, what was that one show with is it Ever After or not Ever After? The one show where she was like Cinderella. You know what I'm talking about. And then there was like,
Drew Barrymore?
no, it was like
Wait.
there's a Rumpelstiltskin character in it. And it was like an ABC family show.
Girl, I have no idea.
Okay. Gosh, I like can see it so clearly. I don't know why but I know I misspoke. It's not Ever After.
I don't know. I'm not like a movie and TV show connoisseur. I think picking out TV shows for me gives me anxiety because I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not. I'll just watch Game of Thrones again.
What kind of TV shows do you like?
Sci-fi. I think.
Like Lucas likes sci-fi, like like Battlescar Galactica. My husband's about to divorce me.
You could have just said Stargate, and I would have been happy with that. And it's Battlestar Galactica.
Battlescar.
I don't even watch that one, but Battlescar? It's Battlestar Galactica.
So he was watching Stargate. I was wrong.
Singular Battlescar.
Which one do you watch?
I like Game of Thrones and House
That's
of the Dragon.
fantasy. I feel like that's fantasy. Sci-fi
Okay,
is like
fantasy. Then I like fantasy. But I also like Star Wars.
okay.
Okay, yeah, it's fake, right? If we're in the library, it's not real.
Yeah, not real section. Yeah,
I like the not real section.
yeah.
Because I feel like it takes me out of reality. I feel like I'm a politician. A certain one who's like talking in circles. Okay.
I like fantasy too. I like that, but you really have to be in the mood for some of those because they're not like lighthearted. You have to be like ready for battles and this and that.
Yeah, when I watched Ned Stark get his head cut off, man,
That took me by surprise. I was like, I didn't even understand the author of the story back then, and I was completely convinced he was the lead character. So that's why when they like offed him, I was like, what did we just?
That hurt.
Yeah, it
Or when
really
I
hurt.
watch dire wolves get killed, it hurts me. Or when I watch a dragon.
Lucas has
A
a
Valyrian steel sword.
Yep,
Letter opener.
it's a letter opener. He got it from the internet.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So he's a
I'm
fan.
so jealous. I'm a fan.
too.
I am a fan. I'm a fan. A big fan.
I'm trying to think what other shows have really been great. We watched Lost. That sucked at the end. Yeah, that was science fiction. Lost was like the first Game of Thrones, where like it was a show that like always kept you guessing and surprising, and then we realized that the writers didn't know where they were going at the end.
Yeah, I know the plane crashes on an island, and that's it. That came out when I was a kid.
That came out. How? We're the same age.
Lost?
We
Yeah, there's
were
a
young
plane
adults.
that crashed, right? Yeah.
You weren't a kid. You had to be like
I
young
was
adult.
a kid. No, I wasn't. I think they just re-released that out onto like Netflix or something. And it lasted a long time, right?
Yeah, well, because when Lucas and I met, it was towards the end of this. It was like the last 2 seasons when we met. So I guess that's possible because
probably,
it was
like,
like 5 or 6 seasons before that.
13 or maybe. I don't know.
That might be possible because like we were towards the end of the series, which had already been going for a few years. So Lucas had caught me up on them, and then we got to go through like the last couple seasons and stuff.
What
together.
happened?
They crashed on an island, and there was weird stuff on the island, but the writers had done a really good job, at least the first like 3 or 4 seasons, where like it'd be episode 2 and there's like a van in the forest, right? And then later, as like they go through the whole story and there's time jumps and other things like that, you realize that like they had planted that van in the forest, and they had like this whole backstory on the van that you get like 4 seasons later. And you're like, yeah, that was how everybody was when you're watching it. You're like, oh my God, they're geniuses. And then like, I think they get to the end, and it was like one of those, like, it was all a dream, or they're
That's what I
all
was going to
dead.
say. Yeah, wasn't it someone dreaming or something?
Someone dreaming or dead. And this is what's funny is like, so when I was in LA and I did comedy classes, which is for writing, you do like improv, and improv is like designed, it was originally for writers. They would always tell you like, do not kill everybody. And everyone was always, you can't like get to the end of your like fake story that because you're improvising a story when you're like doing this kind of art form. They're like, you can't do movie sequence. Like, oh, it was a movie the whole time. You can't be like, oh, they're dead the whole time. Oh, it was a dream the whole time. Because audiences are like, it's not satisfying and they hate it. And then we get to the end of that, and they're just like,
surprise!
Yeah, it's like very like
It wasn't
101
real.
writing. Like 101 writing is like, and they were dead the whole time or whatever. So that's like something that you'll see like in a lot of really early writer stuff is like they all have like those things. And they're like, okay, what can you do with the story if you just take that out? Yeah. There's just like cliches that's like when you've read like so many students different writing and all the different things, they'll realize like, oh, there's this trend where it's like, oops, they died. Or like even to the comedy at the end, oh, we'll do this. And it's like everybody does that. So try to do something else that's more creative and challenge your mind. And then that's why it was so disappointing because I'm like, you literally broke the rule that they all teach us in like writers school to not do.
That's crazy. You know a lot about a lot of things, I feel like.
You think so?
Yeah, when I listen to your podcast, like you spit out facts about stuff, and I'm like, wow, how did she know that?
This is how you get to be 35 and accomplish nothing. A little bit of everything everywhere.
Yeah, jack of all trades.
Yeah,
A
3
master
different
of
languages,
none.
speaks none.
None. Yeah.
Yeah, Lucas and I were going to China, and that's why we were like, we could not find a bathroom. And then not only could we not find a
Pee in the street.
bathroom in this mall, these kids were so sweet. They were like these, there's like a hair salon inside this mall. And then we asked them bathroom, and they all look at each other. And one guy's like, oh, bathroom. And then he could not give directions in English because like, and then it was like, at least if it was in Spanish, you know, like the word baño or like something that's like remote, it was so foreign. Not one part of anything coming out of this person's mouth could get me to the bathroom. And they were like giving me like, it was like landing a plane. They were giving me like these type of directions and like trying to give us hand signals. Like you go down this way and you do this way. And then you go, and I looked at Lucas, I'm like, we're never finding this bathroom. And then we get to the bathroom and it was a squat toilet. I was like, this is just.
I was just about to say that. I'd be like, if I couldn't say it, I would just be like, sit.
Yeah, it was so hard. Yeah, I actually practiced. Have you ever had to use a squat toilet with like clothes, like pants?
When I was in the military, they had like a giant hole in the ground, and they just had a building on top of it that could just, the big bad wolf could blow it down. But yeah, I mean, it was just a giant hole, like 3 potties in a row, and
that's how you did it.
yeah, and it stank.
Ugh, I
Bad.
believe that. It was weird because you like pee towards the front of the thing. I watched a YouTube video.
Oh, so that's not what you're talking about.
Well, they're like they look like a ceramic toilet, but it is like a hole in the ground.
Oh, okay.
But it is like you stand on it. So, and you squat and you're like wearing pants and you have to like somehow pull your pants down and take a piss and not pee all over your clothes. I told Lucas, I was like, and then when you go into these things, there's like 5 squat toilets and only 1 Western toilet. Or like if they had some of them didn't have a Western toilet at all. So I told Lucas, I'm like, this trip, I need to learn to use a squat toilet. And so I watched a YouTube video and, no one's taking a piss on YouTube to show you how to do this, right? Like they're just describing how to do it. And I looked at Lucas. So the way that I practiced using a squat toilet was I peed in the shower to be like, how much am I going to actually pee on my clothes? Like I imagine like holding pants up and like how I would actually do this. And then I looked at Lucas and I was like, today's the day, babe. And I was like, I'm either going to go in there and successfully use this toilet or I'm going to walk out with piss all over my pants.
I need to see this.
Yeah, and then like apparently Australia has a lot of squat toilets, but yeah, the part of China that we were in.
Oh, okay. Lucas is showing me. Okay. Yeah, there's no way that you can't pee on your feet.
Yeah, like
because women like we don't have a dingling. You can't just like
do it. Yes,
tuck it backwards. We pee with such like force,
and you're not gonna like. That's the thing is like you also like pull your pants down in a way that you leave them on. Lucas is like dying. And I went right over that. You're like, yeah, that's the thing is like the stream. You got to control the stream.
Yeah, we can't pee lightly. I mean, our urethra is like a water hose that you just clamp down and it's like, there's no controlling that puppy. I mean, it does what it wants.
And then at the end, and then when the stream gets slower, you have even less control.
Yeah.
This was a real fear of mine. I was like, Luke, we can't be out at this event like 8 hours with only squat toilets. Like we don't have time to go back to the hotel room so I can use a real one. Yeah. And then you go in them and it's like the floor is like very obvious. Like, I mean, girls are pissing on a squat toilet. The floor was dirty. You're not going to like take your pants off you're not going to take your shoes off, take your pants off to like squat on this thing. Like you have to like move your clothes out of the way and squat on this squat toilet.
Why do they have them?
I don't know. It's like a culture thing. And
you want piss on your shoes? That's culture?
You don't, though. They know how to use it. This girl, I waited this one time. I waited for the Western toilet, right? And this girl is like doing the potty dance. She was like, I gotta go. And this woman walks out and I'm looking at a squat toilet. I'm like, you can go. And she goes, oh, thank you. Yeah. She goes in, the door shuts, and I immediately hear pissing. I was like, how did she do that so fast?
Maybe you gotta point your pelvis backwards.
Like she was wearing pants and everything. I was like, as soon as the door shut, it was like I heard full like fire hose stream in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I told Lucas immediately after this, I was like, I'm never gonna be able to do this.
Hey, we can make it into a sport.
Yeah, I did. Next time.
And go.
Aim for the Cheerios. Yeah. It was crazy. It was
participate. That's crazy. Was she wearing sweatpants or a dress?
Regular normal slacks.
Man.
I was so impressed. I was like, I'm sure if you've been doing it your whole life, it's not, a dress is not as crazy. Like a dress and like panties is not as crazy, but I'm like, I was just like.
Yeah, you just pull it to the side.
Yeah, pull it to the side. We're just like, whatever. But you will see, like if you squat down, if you're ever like, let me try this, you squat down in the shower to test it out, you could be like, okay, I can see how I would stand facing the thing and then pee forward and then like have it land without, and then holding, and then you'll sit there and like mime holding pants. You're like, okay, we can make this happen.
I can already see this being a conversation with Scarlett. Mom, what are you doing? Are you peeing in the shower? I'm like, I'm aiming for the hole.
Look, someday a Western woman, she'll be like, what are you doing? You're like, I am culturing myself.
I'm peeing like the Chinese.
Yeah.
And that she said
yeah,
China.
It's China. They call it an Asian toilet though. Yeah. So I've only seen them in China and not like Japan or anywhere else. I've gone to Okinawa, which is not quite the same, but yeah. And then I told Lucas, I was like, I did not plan for this. I was like, I did not plan to not only not be able to find the bathroom, but get to it and not know how to use a toilet. And I looked at Lucas. I was like, you don't understand. You're not wearing pants and worried about peeing all over.
He's got a hose. He can just point it and go wherever he needs to. Yeah, it's not easy for us.
Using a urinal your whole life.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I could pee behind me if I really wanted to.
Yeah, tuck it back, right? Tuck it backwards. Yeah.
Tuck, I just turn.
Turn it. Tie it in a knot.
Tie it in a
Tie
knot.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lucas would have to tie it in a knot. So, thanks for listening to our 20-minute conversation on squat toilets.
Yeah.
I don't even know
Yeah.
how we got there. Oh, Chinese.
Duolingo.
Yeah, and then Lucas and I were like, okay, so we learned. But actually, there's some really great things about Mandarin, and it really taught me how to listen to the musicality of languages and then where you place sounds, because they're a musical or they're a tonal language. So if you say ma or ma, those are two different words.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Ma and ma?
Ma and ma are two different
okay.
words.
Yeah, it sounds like it's two different things.
Yeah.
Like beach and bitch.
Yeah.
My fiance he has a problem with it. He doesn't know.
He's like, she is a beach.
yeah. He's like, he thinks that when I'm like, let's go to the beach, he's like, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. He's like, you said bad word. I'm like, no, I didn't. Yeah. Cop and cup and coop. A chicken coop.
How does coop come up in your guys' everyday lingo?
Because he's trying to say cup. And
Oh.
he says coop. And I'm like, no, that's where chickens live. And he's like, what? I'm like, casa de pollo. That's a coop. Yeah.
Lucas found this so wholesomely funny.
Yeah. I'm like, it's cup. And he's like, oh, cup. And I'm like, yeah, good. And he's like, okay, wee woo. I'm like, cop. Yeah.
You just need to go and do like a whole trip in Spanish and then see how many things that he's probably going to be like, House of the Chickens for you.
House of the Chickens. House of the Dragon. Oh my
House
God.
of the Dragons. Do you speak any other languages, if not Spanish? What did you do? What did you have to do in high school?
In middle school, I did Spanish, French, and German. Don't ask me what I learned. I don't know. And then in high school, Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. A lot of it's stuck.
Yeah, because you're so young, right? It's like in there, like deep in the vocabulary. Yeah.
I remember in kindergarten, a Spanish-speaking woman, a Latina lady, coming to my class, singing the days of the week. Lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado, domingo, the days of the week. I'll never forget it.
I remember when I volunteered at a Head Start, they had like a wash your hands song.
Really?
It was like lavas los manos, lavas los manos.
Yeah.
I don't remember the rest of it, but I just remember I'm like, okay, washing your hands.
Yeah. And
I probably said, if someone's like, she said that very wrong.
no. Well, I mean, maybe the double L is more of like a yeah, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Who cares?
Yeah.
We're in America.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of America, you know that in South America,
They just call it America?
no, they
No.
don't. They hate our guts because we are cultural appropriators. They view North and South America, they're taught that there's only 5 continents, not 7. And they think that they are Americans because North and South are one continent called America, and that we are scumbags.
Technically it's connected.
Yeah, but technically it's
Panama Canal.
Panama.
The Panama.
The Panama.
The Panama Canal.
Yeah, that
stops it.
That thing.
College in California, ladies and gentlemen.
The Panama Canal. Yeah,
Your
but
tax dollars at work. The Panamanian Canal.
but they're like, we're all Americans. And I'm like, okay, you're South American. I'm North American if we're talking about continents, but my country's name is the United States of America. And Venezuela, for example, used to be called the United States of Venezuela. They're not anymore. It's some other long name, but we don't.
You're like the Democratic Republic of
Yeah.
Venezuela.
Yeah.
I might have made that up. I don't know.
But that's, I mean, essentially that's what I'm saying. You know, you don't go to Great Britain or whatever it's called. What do you call it? United Kingdom? What's their official name?
So it depends.
England, Great Britain, United Kingdom? Which one?
So I learned this when I did my history degree. That's useless. I don't have the dates, but each one represents a different time period. It was a
Okay.
different thing. So now you would say, now to my understanding, they refer to themselves as English. Because when my friends, little like 6-year-olds, we like went to like a buffet or whatever, and she goes, "Oh yes, this is like very English and whatever." And I noticed that they weren't saying British; they specifically say English all the time. And so I know that like it was the UK for a certain period of time, and then they stopped being like then they stopped like Great Britain was a certain period of time, England, Ireland, like all those different things. It just depends when you like look at kind of very similar to Roman Empire versus when it was the Republic of Rome. They were like two different periods of like two different whole entities.
Yeah.
Is how they look at it.
Well,
That's why it's so confusing. Is because like you refer to like I always call it Britain, but it's not apparently.
Well, I picked a bad example, but my my point is like the name of our country is the 50 states unite together because we're all a separate state with our own governing laws or whatever. We unite together to form one. It's like, our powers combined, we're Captain Planet. But, we form America. Like, I had to explain that. And they're like, no, Canadians are American too. I was like, call a Canadian an American and see how offended they get.
So fascinating.
Yeah. And
I feel like it kind of reminds me of like European Union versus like, and then like countries like the UK or like, it's not the UK, but countries like England were like part of the EU and then they like broke off with the Brexit, the Great Britain.
But they're their own country.
Now, everyone is technically all their own countries, but that's kind of what the states were.
But Europe is the continent.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the European Union is an entity that has separate countries.
Okay.
So maybe they see
it. Is it like a club?
Because you're not in it. Yeah. Well, this is like the whole like Ukraine thing is they were trying to join the European Union, but they're not supposed to because they border Russia.
Correct.
Yeah, so
can't blame Russia for getting mad about that, though, right?
Yeah, it's actually like it's such a complex history. I always joke with people, I'm like, unless you can tell me the 7 countries that are around Ukraine, then maybe not talk to me about Ukrainian history.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would get mad if there was an agreement between me and this other country, and they're like, we will not have military bases put on your border, and they did anyways. I would be mad. Too.
It's a very, very long history of that kind of thing too.
Yeah.
So that they were trying to like join the European Union, and then like I think maybe if you're not from the United States, where you're like Texas and Florida, we still all feel like the same country, but you go to Canada, and it's like a different country.
Yeah.
But they might see it as how like very different, like Germany is from France, but they're all your EU members. But technically, they're more like Canada and the United States, and not Texas and Florida.
Well, he explained it to me. He's like, well, we're taught there's only 5 continents, like the rings for the Olympics. And I'm like, well, I apologize. Like, I sympathize for your poor education. You need to catch up. Because
North and South America. What's the other ones? North and South America.
Africa,
Australia,
and Asia. And then there's
Arctic and Antarctic. Right?
Yes. I think Antarctica and...
So what other one are they skipping?
Hold on. United States, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and...
Australia, yes.
Antarctica.
One of them's real, and then the other one's just ice, right?
Yeah, one of them is real, and the other one, there's like a whole world government agreement that we don't go there.
Oh, this
probably
is
because of the aliens and stuff that are hiding there.
This is the thing that made me think, this is how my podcast gets canceled. This is what almost gave the flat earth theory very much credibility, was the they don't fly over the pole thing. And then when you look at a map like laid flat and you see like the flight, it looks like you're going like this all over the globe. But then when you see it like flat like this, and think like a Frisbee, like it's not like people always like draw it as like some square that you fall off. I'm like, no. Just like pretend that instead of like hitting the bottom is ice at the bottom, like just imagine that as a big ice wall around a Frisbee. Because you took the bottom and you like peeled it up like an orange.
Okay.
So if you took an orange and you just peeled the
like
bottom,
this candy wrapper, but all around it's sticking up.
Yeah. So it would look like a disc. And then
the inside of this.
So if you were going south, for example, if you're going from North America and you go south, then you hit the ice wall, right?
Okay.
If you go from Europe and you go south, you hit an ice wall, right? Like you're always going to the bottom to the ice wall. Now imagine instead of going down, you're going out to an ice wall. So that's what it's shaped like.
Okay.
And in there, I watched some real cancelable type of YouTube videos on this.
I need to look it up.
Yeah, it was so because of this, so you like pretend that what you're looking at it's like a disc and it's not like a square or anything like that. And the reason why you don't fall off the edge of it is because you're actually hitting the ice wall, which is Antarctica. So instead of going through Antarctica, I might be getting these. I always get the Arctic and Antarctica mixed up, but I think Antarctica is on the bottom.
Is on the bottom.
Okay, that's the one that
Patagonia.
Yes. So like you go, so imagine like you're always going south and you hit an ice wall. So instead of always going south on like a globe to hitting the ice wall, like peel the bottom of the globe out, and so now it's a ring of ice. So that's why you never fall off, and like that's why you're always moving in a circle around a frisbee.
Okay.
Because like the equator would technically be like a middle ring.
Yeah.
Of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so when you're flying around the globe, you're actually just flying in a circle because you're never going past the ice wall.
I mean, I always think we're flying in a circle anyways, aren't we?
Yeah.
Even if it was flat or not flat, you're still flying in a circle.
The only reason that Lucas and I even looked this up was because Lucas was flying and they actually adjust for the curvature of the earth or something like that when they're flying. And he's like, wait, but if you're just going with gravity around, he was like, that's weird. So then he started looking into like the shape of the earth. And then that's how we went down this whole rabbit hole. And what actually we were looking at before the flatter earth stuff was the hollow earth, because supposedly there's like Admiral Byrd who disappeared through like there's like this.
The Bermuda Triangle thing, or
It wasn't Bermuda Triangle. It was he went through one of the poles and said that he had gone out the other side and that there was other land masses.
Huh.
And so when you look at really old, like an old Sanskrit map of, when you look like an old Sanskrit map, it will be like all the bodies, like all the continents, and then it'll be like what looks like an ice wall, and then more countries outside of that.
Like, well, those old
Ancient maps.
Tartaria, like
Yeah,
the maps
like
with Tartaria
really
on
old.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, because like, and maybe they were just, so let's say they actually went through Antarctica, made it on the other side, and they're actually just hitting like, from one side to the other. But you could kind of see how, depending on what your hypothesis is of the Earth shape, that it would throw what your perspective of what you're seeing is. Because if you're always going in a circle, you're either thinking that you're going around the globe, but if you think it's shaped like a disc, you're just flying in a circle.
Huh. I have
Yeah.
to look at it. Verbal directions are my idea of hell, so I have to. I need to look at it.
I was the same way. When Lucas was telling me this, I was like, I love you, honey, and we are married. But I was like, I can't get into this with you. And then I watched like one 15-minute video and I was like, YouTube just proved to me that the earth is flat. I was like, maybe. I was like, I don't know. I'm a very open-minded person.
I'm
though,
open-minded too, but because look, in nursing, you learn a lot about critical thinking, and there's that cat.
Oh yeah.
The hidden cat.
The hidden-
He's like, she's coming. We learn a lot about critical thinking, and to save your own ass, it's like, well, did you actually see this happen?
I'm sorry, my cat's throwing your kid.
I'm sorry, my kid's throwing your cat or whatever. So in nursing school, we're always critical thinking, chart. Did you actually see this? What did you see? What is subjective? Okay, subjective is anything that comes out of the mouth. What is objective? Objective is fact, like blood pressure, blah, blah, blah. So when people are like, landing on the moon, I never landed on the moon. I wasn't alive for that.
Yeah.
When I watch it and I see the aircraft in the, museum, it looks like my daughter's science fair project.
I'm very conspiracy where I'm not sure if we went to the moon.
I don't think
the
we
first
did.
time. I don't know about all the other times, but the first one's like real sketchy. There was also a motivation to lie about it. We were in like a space race
With Russia. Yeah.
with Russia.
I've never been to outer space, Rachel. I've never taken pictures of the Earth because people are like,
Yeah.
well, what about pictures of the Earth? I'm like, well, I never took any. Like you're handing me something and you're expecting me to just be like, I believe you. This is facts.
My favorite thing too is like, okay, we know this, right? Because like everyone's an influencer these days and they're all setting up their camera and like walking past it. One of the big jokes is like, whoever stepped on the moon is not the man on the moon. Whoever put the camera there, he was the first motherfucker on the moon.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Like you go and step in it. I'm like, even in 1960s, you have like a scientist whose whole life is like getting in a plane and going up into the planets or like going up into outer space, into the moon or whatever. And I'm like, and now he's a cinematographer placing the camera and making sure there's enough light in this dark place.
And how did they make the phone call to a landline telephone? Like, look, I'll be honest. That might be a stupid question because I still don't even understand like how my voice is traveling through these wires or like how television works. I don't know. And then you really got me on like FaceTime and cell phones. I don't know how that works.
But then also like when you go into a museum for this stuff and you look at like 1960s technology and you're like, this made it to the moon.
Yeah,
I think
no
that
way.
even about the planes in the 80s. And I knew people flew like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. People got in planes comfortably and did the thing. But you look at like really old computers and like mechanical stuff in flights and you're just like, I can't believe this carried human bodies to like outer space when you're in it, just technology wise.
I agree.
So,
and they say the government is so far ahead, you know, like 40 years ahead. I don't know what the exact number is, but you know, I couldn't imagine what they have now that we don't know about, like invisible.
We have a friend who like way back in the day, like, and we know he was like in the military where like the uniforms were different because it was so long ago.
Yeah,
he had
BDUs or something. Maybe.
He had a picture with a drone before anyone really knew what one was.
See, I'm telling you, I believe Area 51 really got them aliens in there. I believe it, and I'm not saying I'm a flat earther, but back to what I was saying, like I didn't take the picture.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah, well, that's like because everyone also talks about the pictures from space, and I'm a photographer, right? So if you had like a flashlight and you're in a dark room, and I just signed the flashlight on certain parts of a picture, you still have to composite it because like the sun isn't always illuminating the entire Earth. It moves. So whether it's the sun's moving on a disc and highlighting it, or the sun is moving on a globe, you're still compositing the photo. It's not even like a huge like conspiracy. It's just you're compositing the photo to what you think it looks like anyway. You're not ever going to have just the way that light moves on a dark object, and then you still have to composite it just because that's like the nature of what you're doing to a hypothesis, which is it's a globe. So the one thing that did prove to me that the Earth was not flat though was I guess it's like the North Star. If you can't see it from the other side of the globe, then it's probably a globe. Versus if it was a disc, you should be able to see the star from every.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's a couple things that really
like a TP. That would be the top.
Yep. Exactly. Okay. Yes. So that's like even if you had like there's like an explanation for how the sun and the moon go around the disc and everything, but the star is one of the ones that really puts a hole in the flat Earth theory. So, but everyone will go like space or this or that. And I'm like, it's almost religious at that point. Cause I'm like, you guys, I'm like, that's not, you know, I'm like, if you think like someone's dumb for like believing that God created the Earth in 7 days, I'm like, you believing that like I think that it's just as religious for people about like the shape of the Earth. And I'm sitting there being like, I don't know what the universe is shaped like. I ain't been out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every little perspective, whether it's like a drone or like some kind of like little spaceship that is like such a tiny perspective that you're putting together to a lot of hypotheses because you just have such a small, it's like you're an ant trying to look at the Earth.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel that way looking out of the airplane.
Yeah.
I try to look up and it hurts. I'm just like,
flying is still crazy to me. Lift is like such a crazy concept to me.
You know what? I have to actively not think about myself being in an airplane when I'm in an airplane, or I'll have a severe anxiety attack because I'm like,
overthinking
what the fuck
it.
is this happening? Yeah.
Well, now planes are like falling out of the sky. I feel like there's been a lot of plane crashes of like, yeah, there's the 2 planes that almost hit each other with the air
I would shoo my pants. Like I'd be like, someone give me 10 drinks and a Xanax.
People are always saying like you're more likely to die in a car accident, and I think that's true, but I do think that it is more likely that you'll die on a plane these days.
I mean,
with the Boeing thing too, like all the whistleblowers showing up dead and all that crap. I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, okay, cars crash more often, but they're not carrying 300 passengers in each car.
Like one bus would be like a huge tragedy if like even 10 people died.
Yeah.
Unless you're in like some random Asian country.
Yeah.
You know what does seem safe though? Trains.
Not the ones that
People are
just
stabbing.
spilled all the chemicals into the.
Oh, the middle of the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, I take that back. There's 300 people on a plane. There's a few people on a bus. There's a couple people in a car, and there's 3 people in this room. And we've hit our time. So this is how we're ending. Jackie, where can everyone find you?
Oh, in my bed. No, I'm just kidding. My Instagram's badjackieo, and you can find me at Alliance headquarters.
Awesome. Thank you.
for having me.